Hello, I'm Jakub Figlash, and this is the last of my Olympic midnights. Poland entered these Olympics with 10 medals, 1 gold, 4 silvers, 5 bronzes. Daria Pikulik winning silver in the track cycling omnium on Sunday, which in the end stopped us from being completely humiliated and not having double-digit medals, but still, this is our worst Olympic showing at a Summer Games since Melbourne 1956, when our one and only gold was Elżbieta Krzesinska-Duńska in the long jump. And of course, back then, we only had 63 athletes going to the Olympics in all sports, which is 4 times less than in Paris. And the flights back then to Melbourne lasted at least 48 hours. So, needless to say, these Olympics have been very poor on our side, and I have been waiting 48 hours since the opening ceremony on Sunday to make this video because I simply do not know how to feel, because we finished 42nd in the medal table, 42nd, whilst, for example, Ireland, with a population of just 5 million, they finished in the top 20 and got 4 gold medals. Isn't that right, Dave?
Yes, it is, my friend. You took the words right out of my mouth. What 42nd position? Let's look at some of the Olympic heavyweights that easily beat you. Not to, put shade on any of these countries, but you think you might be finishing above Azerbaijan in the medal table, Do the Iranians have the kind of access to facilities you have in Poland? 38.5 million people. Hang your heads, hang your head. How would a country that produces Schwantek, even Schwantek blew it? I mean, oh God, it's crazy. It's crazy. You must be feeling bad, dude. But, there's always, the only way is up from here, right? 10 medals. Ouch. That's not good, dude. Not good. What's your theory? Why is this happening?
Why has it happened? First of all,
also in your face. 22 places above as we finished. That won't be happening again, so I'm going to enjoy it. Sorry.
Yeah, but the thing is, first of all, Polish sport at a base level, the societal level, is pretty poor because, for instance, from my experience, physical education in our schools is pretty bad, even atrocious at a pre-high school level because of the lack of facilities, but also because there's only on a handful of sports that we do train at PE lessons, and it is not mandatory for us to do PE in order to graduate to another class.
Well, I mean, it depends on the skill these days. Some of them do have better facilities. Money has been spent, but I definitely think there's a gap to be filled there, isn't it? Access to facilities is everything if you want to develop young sports people. But what people always say, it's expensive, it's this, it's that. It's actually, if you look around Europe, say, I don't know, Hungary as an example, didn't Orbán make great political capital out of investing in sports? It can be a political project, as well, if they need something to justify it with. Point being, it's popular, right? Politicians need to be looking at this, saying, this is where I get my win here. We're going to fix this, right? Because actually getting some Olympic medals is quite an achievable thing, right? You put one of them, high performance, lottery fund, kind of, get a panel, get Seb Coe to charge you 20 grand a day to drop in for a weekend, and pat everyone on the head, make a little speech, tell them where to go. Dave Brailsford can make the fucking sandwiches. You know what I'm talking about. Get some kind of super team going. A couple of £100 million, you'd be tickety-boo in 4 years. What do you think?
That is the thing that Donald Tusk, who's now Prime Minister again, a few months ago, he made plans for all schools' sporting facilities to now be available for free, which is remarkable that you do have to pay for those facilities that came up in just the last 20 years, the modern ones, because I mean that is the thing. For example, about Ireland is that all the pitches are easily available, even in.
Well, I don't know about that. When I was growing up, especially, sports facilities and the skills were terrible. Our PE consisted of this tiny little room. You could barely call it a sports hall. Now, like, there were things, like, of course, there were clubs, there were football clubs, but they were very basic, dude. You know, Ireland's not a great fucking template to be copied for anyone. We had a good Olympics, right? We finally got a good crop. I won't get too cocky about it. Let's put it that way. Look, I think anyway, just to throw you a curveball, it's more important to have good investments in team sports and playing fields. And Ireland's blessed with lots of field, but, of course, with lots of rain. So, the grass grows easily, but somebody has to cut the fucking thing, which isn't cheap too. But what were we talking about again in terms of Donald Tusk, who, strong statesman, always liked him. He has this idea, right, to open up the schools at weekends. That could take some of the burden off, but it just shows you how bad things are. You have to pay for everything in Poland when it comes to renting a court, paying, joining a club, and it's not cheap either, So I think the gyms are packed in the cities, the courts are packed, the football fields are packed, and I think it's, good on any billionaires, politicians, anyone who wants to get this moving. You should get your arse moving. What are you doing in Wadowice to get some more sports pitches for the people, Gilbert?
Like the Scava pitches, those have recently expanded to have a few artificial squares, and also they are building a new stand. But that is the thing, that now that many of us have moved to the suburbs, the facilities are further away than they were 40 years ago, when most of us lived in those tower blocks, which always had a place between them to play football, even if it was on asphalt pitches.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I mean, me, I'm no expert on Polish demographics or anything, but you tell me. But there is an age and there's not as many kids being born these days, and I'm sure there's sports clubs and town. You're from Wadowice, like that's one of those slightly underpopulated towns. Maybe the problem in the sports club is no kids are showing up. Like maybe it's not the lack of facilities; it's the lack of kids who want to try out. I don't know. Is the answer to that question. But in the big cities, like in all big successful cities like Krakow, a lack of facilities is the issue, a lack of space. Real estate is so valuable, it's not easy to carve out extra parks and extra leisure space.
Indeed so, because you mentioned Azerbaijan and Iran, and these are two nations, much of whose Olympic medal haul historically has been based around combat sports: boxing, fencing, judo, wrestling, taekwondo. Most medals in our history came from athletics, but just below that, you do have boxing and fencing and so on. Whilst at these games, we've only had one weightlifter participating, two judokas, 3 wrestlers, even though 2 of those made the medal round, and 5 boxers, which still was the most we've had this century, and Yulia Szeremeta won silver. My point is that...
So are the boxers doing badly by historic standards this games, or well? I'm not clear.
Well, because we actually won a medal, but also because in
earlier... medal, not great. Okay.
Yeah, but in earlier episodes, I did mention how amateur boxing in Poland fell over the past 30 years, and that brings me to a deeper point, because combat sports, many say that at a youth level, combat sports are the best to later suit the kids to do any sports, especially to build them up on a mental level. And since we have a big medal haul historically in those, then we should have, in my opinion, those combat sports, especially wrestling, not during PE classes, but for teachers to refer to local clubs which can supply the kids with those lessons. Because, for instance, in Wadowice, we do have a boxing and MMA club, and of course, MMA is the jack of all the combat disciplines, and that in
shouldn't that be in the Olympics? Sorry to interrupt you. Actually, extremely interesting soliloquy. I think you've made some fascinating points there, my good friend. But just while we're just have a little sidebar for a second. MMA, yeah, you're right. It did something quite interesting, didn't it? It kind of sorted out a martial art that encompasses the best parts of some, but mostly it's what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and boxing, basically. It should be in the games. If that, no offense to Ray Gunn, I don't want to, throw any shade at her, but if fucking breakdancing is getting a break, you know what I mean? Give me a break, like, you know what I mean. I know you don't want to throw any shade on breakdancing. You probably will, right? Okay, but I just see it.
I for one
Anyway,
liked her.
can I address your because your second theory is a lot more interesting, right? PE to me, PE is PE. I mean, it's an add-on to the skill day. It's interesting. They take it seriously in America, I suppose, don't they? You have to pass it and all as part of your GD.
Especially from the age of 14 onwards, because PE classes in the US don't really differ, but what differs is at a high school level, that pretty much every major high school in the US has a full sports program. And anyone who has watched Friday Night Lights or remember the Titans knows how big high school football is in the US, and also basketball and wrestling and hockey and so on. And then you get to the college level,
left
which
side,
is
strong side. Yes, I've seen. Remember
yeah,
the Titans.
and of course
You get dead inside if you don't love that movie. God, Denzel, what a coach. And the Friday Night Lights is actually pretty good too. Kyle Chandler, one of your underappreciated gems of Hollywood. Great actor. Although not that underappreciated. I've noticed he's been cropping up in a lot of big stuff the last few years. What were we talking about again? Oh yeah, the whole your whole theory about combat sports. Let me get back to this because I'm a boxing fan, as you well know, my buddy. I would always associate Poland as having good fighters. You're right. One medal isn't good enough, really, is it? I mean, what's your theory that I definitely listened to on that episode and completely remember? I just want to recap for our listeners. What was it? Why do you think Polish boxing has fallen off the radar?
it is mostly because it is so easy, even for a rookie, to get tempted by the money offered in pro boxing, because we have plenty of good promoters like Mateusz Borek, one of our top football commentators, promotes boxing in his spare time. And also this case of Dariusz Michalczewski was our first pro world champion in 1994.
The Tiger.
Yes, der Tiger, because he trained in Germany his whole pro career and didn't represent Poland until his last few fights. But the fact is that pro boxing, it was banned during communism, and then when you got Michalczewski and then Andrzej Gołota, don't call him Andrew, by the way, that's illegal. But once you yeah, and once you get the likes of Gołota and Tomasz Adamek and recently Krzysztof Głowacki, and you see them signing those big contracts, you think, why should I train and fight for nothing?
Well, okay. I'm not sure there's that many Polish world champions either in the pro ranks, but I could be proved wrong there. Anyway, I don't know either, so there's an insight for you. Ireland has a good boxing culture. I mean, if there's boxing clubs in Poland, I suspect investing some money in them and doing them up might be a good start. Get more bodies in the door.
Indeed, because I, for one, think there's twice as many boxing rings actually than associated clubs. Because, for instance, one of my mum's best friend's husband, he actually has a boxing ring in his basement, but never started a club.
Yeah, maybe you should. Like your man in The Wire. What's his name? Anyway,
I never watched The Wire, frankly.
Great show. What else have you got for me? Why else do Poland suck at the Olympics this time? Maybe it's just a cyclical thing, dude. Maybe we just got a bit unlucky this time, What about random chance,
Yeah, but the fact is, this is the 6th Summer Olympics that I followed closely. The first one was Athens 2004. And
classic, the Irish priest ruining the marathon.
Oh, don't remind me.
Father, oh my God, please don't tell me he's fucking Irish. Oh God, I'm embarrassed. I think the whole nation, because he was a little Irish priest too,
Yeah, and
they all
he done it. He actually did it before at a couple of Formula One races, going across the track.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what? I couldn't help when I saw that. Right, awful thing to think, but like the speed they go and the way the whole thing is to have the diffusers and the low end, like almost scoop the air over the top. What do you think would happen actually if they hit a human a full pelt? Like obviously the ankles would be gone, but how high do you think he'd go? I reckon like
52?
Quadruple somersault deep in the air, and then I was kind of picturing that. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, dark thoughts. But yeah, that's whatever happened to that old priest. Is he still banging around?
I don't want to know.
Oh, I kind of miss him. Yeah. Anyway, the Athens Games. Athens, brutal place to have a fucking Olympics in summer, right? I mean, it was hot as anything. I remember that. And didn't Andre Ward win gold in that Olympics?
Yes, he won it at either middleweight or super middleweight. Like, he is as underrated of a boxer as there ever was because he finished.
No. I gotta stop here. Okay, who's he underrated? Do you think a fight fan underrates Andre Ward? Anyone who knows anything about boxing? Underrated is one of those strange words people throw around these days. Like I was told down the pub a while ago that Michael Laudrup was underrated. I was thinking, he was a fucking underrated. He was not really underrated. I didn't think he was amazing. And then his argument was he didn't win the Ballon d'Or. So it's a bit different being fucking underrated, isn't it? Not winning the trophy says you're the best player in the world that year. Anyway, sorry, don't mind my ramblings and my ranting skill, but you'll have to excuse me. Continue, sorry.
Yeah, like people are only getting used to you on YouTube because this is your first live podcast.
Yeah, I'm very shy, so it's just like talking really.
Just know he's lying, by the way. He's not shy. He is a typical Irishman.
What else have you got for me, right? I mean, your analysis of Poland's demise is okay. I'm not sure where to stand on the primary scale societal aspect. Boxing being neglected is something that seems like almost a solution you've come up with here. But, boxing clubs tend to be small, smelly, little buildings that need a bit of money. Do them up, get some extra coaches in, put some money into it. It's a big win for Tusk. You roll it, you can get a nice bit of political capital out of rebuilding Poland's Olympic structure. Isn't he already arguing around him and the Olympic chief? Who runs Poland's Olympic setup?
So, Sławomir Nitras is the sports minister, and Andrzej Kraśnicki is the Polish Olympic Committee boss.
And who's Krasniki? That name is familiar to me.
Well, he ran the Handball Association prior to heading the entire Olympic structure.
Is he an ex-athlete?
I think so, yeah. And also,
do we trust him? Do we like him?
He was well liked, indeed. And that can't be said about Nitras. He's being very criticized in the past few days. Even though
he's a politician. New. Oh, so I just assume he's a fucking dope. Anyway, isn't it one of the great ironies of democratic society that the absolute best people do these jobs for these government institutions, but they never get the top job. The minister always just goes to some mid-level political hack who just happens to be in the right line. So yeah, never mind him. But Krasniki, any corruption around the Olympic team? Any scandals? Like what's been going on?
Not within the Olympic Committee itself, but for example, Daria Pikulik, who won our last medal on Sunday, the silver in track cycling, well, she had to pay for her own training camp because the Cycling Association has been so neglective over its athletes. And also, Andrzej Piątek, who used to be its chairman, had to resign because of sexual misconduct.
Oh. Juicy. Okay, right. So all is not well in the corridors of power. But anyway, these things. Poland doesn't really have the lottery funding system that they use in the UK and in a lot of countries, does
it? We do have now our lottery money. About 50% of every ticket goes to sport and culture, but it's not known how many percent exactly goes to sport and how many to theatres and so on. But I, for one, would raise that vigorish to about 90%, because then that will be at least an 8-figure sum, if not 9 figures, and put it all in the youth sports, the under 18s, whilst the Olympic level, the high performance level, will be its separate branch. But in terms of funding itself, 92 million was spent by the Polish Olympic Committee for these games, whilst the total from the government budget to the sporting associations was almost 800 million zlotys, which is just over $200 million. And worse yet, the funding is so uneven. It's not like in Britain where it depends on how many medals you win. Like the Sports Climbing Association, which got our only medal of only gold of these games, only gets 7 million from the government, whilst canoeing, which won a medal in canoe slalom but had huge chances in the canoe sprint but didn't win a medal at these games, they are getting just over 40 million.
Wow. I'll never cease to be amazed how much fucking stuff you can keep up in that big brain of yours. Wikipedia 123, baby. Yeah, I knew you'd have a good, thorough answer to that question to paint me a picture. So, take all that numbers and increase them, right? Throw some money at the problem, keep it on the public border. I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah, but my problem is that it's one thing to put the money for certain sports, but it's important to simply have the Olympians to begin with. So why not spread the budget money equally towards the sports and have the big money sports, the footballs, the volleyballs, the tennis, that already have the sponsorship and the ticket revenue? They don't need any public money anymore. But
that's why I was saying you were really onto something with the boxing, right? Because that's a guarantee of underfunded, a guarantee of the combat sports could really use that investment. You don't have as much, local money coming in. Although it's weird, isn't it? Like that. Like, have you ever gone to a local amateur fight night? I've gone to a couple in Dublin. My little cousin, he was a good amateur boxer. I don't know if he still does it, but there's like a couple of hundred people in the room, and these really talented kids, poking the head off each other. It's fucking great crack. Like, everyone's really, really getting into it, really enjoyable. There should be money to be made from the general public watching, amateur competitions. And that leads to investment in, regional sports facilities, small stadiums. I mean, you see the difference, the guy who ran, I don't know much about the guy, but he owned Comark, didn't he? He kind of did a good job at Cracovia's,
yes, Janusz Filipiak, he died last year. And he was.
How much would you say he invested total? What would you say is not the whole thing was? Stadium, rebuilding the club, training facilities, a few million maybe. I don't know.
At least $100 million.
Really? Is that like actual? Because you're pretty good on the old figures. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah, because he was already almost a złoty billionaire to begin with. And also, Comarch is one of the biggest companies in southern Poland and Kraków.
Well, all I'm saying, all right, I thought maybe 100 million was more than I was thinking, to be honest with you. I'm just saying a little goes a long way in sports. You gotta, in Ireland as well, like the best run sports organisation is the IRFU. No questions asked.
That's the rugby association, for those who don't know.
Yeah, or if you want to say, the best hurling team, Limerick, there'll be loads of money thrown at it as well. But there's private billionaires helping out in these cases. Okay, all I'm saying is, Poland's billionaires need to step up, start building some cycling tracks, and start building some shit, right? Get that cheese out. Where's that ice cream fucking guy? The guy with the big mansion. What's he building? Where's my running track ice cream guy?
The thing is that...
Who is the ice cream guy? I can never remember Polish names.
Don't need to, but the point you're making is that our high-performance facilities, even though if they are modernized, they are still pretty old. Like, the main Olympic training center is in Spawa, and there is a saying actually po spale są medale. That means after Spala you get medals, but Spala is in between Łódź and Warsaw, within the forests of Western Mazowsza, and it's really a in the middle of nowhere setting, and that is another thing that.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Kuba, just to say, right? Spella is symbolic of the problem, sure, I'll give you that one. But you'll find in reality, if you want to rack up the goals or get high performance units, what they want the athletes is money in grants so they can go to the countries that have the best athletes and the best facilities that are already built to train with them. So I think what you said earlier is correct, right? So you invest the hard cash, the infrastructure money, that's one side of the pool, in school facilities being opened up. All that requires, by the way, and that gives you a huge mental express capacity. It's good starting tools. You know, all you need is the security personnel or whatever to operate it. And Poland being a pretty civilized, safe country, shouldn't be a big issue. A couple of janitorial types with an extra few hours to log into the weekend can't cost that much. A few hundred million nationally, that'll help. Invest in sports pitches, courts, team games, gymnasiums, you know, and give the niche sports, you know, the ones that'll never really pay off, you know, the cycling tracks and the thing like that. Whether or not you have to go handing cup to a fucking billionaire with offering them a few plex, get that moving too. High performance unit, as you said as well. You know, throw a few hundred million at that. That's the targeted spend. That's when you're sending, you know, your rowers to go and have some training in Cambridge or whatever the fucking example is for other sports. You know what I mean? Like, you know, go and train with the best.
Yes, because for instance, in athletics, there's always money around to send the middle distance guys and girls to like South Africa or the Andes.
Yeah, a bad example. Poland's got loads of great rivers, right? They don't need to go to Cambridge. But you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Ireland, you know, does that now. You know, kind of gives grants to the right athletes, I think. I mean, obviously, I don't really know much about it, but yeah, that's your master plan, right? And it sounds good, okay?
Yeah, and another thing is that why should shooting get less money than, say, handball, which didn't even qualify this time? Because that is the thing, that since shooting did have some Olympians this time, they are the ones in the last 6 to 9 months before going to Paris that would need the money to train.
I think you have to see them as two buckets, right? I don't really care about growing the specialized shooting category at the Olympics that much. In fact, in that example, if you're doing a like by like, you know, I like giving the funding to the handball teams. That's a proper sport with leagues, European Championships, the World Championships. And if you have a bad Olympics as a sport, I'm always thinking, well, okay, but millions of people play handball, like, you know. It's a good thing to invest in facilities and the grassroots. We haven't used that expression yet. That's what we're really talking about. And dude, the lottery funding thing is huge. You can make that a lot more targeted, get the right committee in place, Seb Cowan and Erner, bang, you'd be laughing.
Yeah.
Because Polish people are quite sporty, like, you know. I mean, you have a lot, let's not forget, this is the land of Lewandowski and fucking Iga Świątek, like, I mean, you know. Two of the genuine superstars of the last few years, so it's not like he's incapable of producing an all-time legend from now and then. Oh, I meant to ask you, who was the Polish fella that fought Ali in the?
Zbigniew Pietrzykowski, but of course, since this was 1960, he couldn't turn pro unless he emigrated to the US.
Yeah, I see. I think he's having tough nowadays, boys. Anyway. Dude, I think we're gonna have to wrap up, right? I mean, you know, we're at the half-hour mark. I think we've kicked the tires on Poland's failure to perform. What needs to happen next? You should start a movement, my friend.
My thanks, Dave. It was great talking to you, and I will do. Even though this is the end of Olympic Midnight, I will do some videos on other sports from now on, and you are invited anytime, especially when you don't mind your son Charlie. You're invited to come talk.
Absolutely, mate. I'll catch you another time, right? It was great to chat with you, as always, my friend.
Okay. So, thanks, Dave. So that is it for this Olympic Midnight series. I hope you've enjoyed the videos over the last 19 days. But even though the Olympics are over, the sports videos on this channel certainly are not. Watch this space, and I might do a video later on the Paralympics, in which we hope we're gonna have plenty more thrills and happiness in that regard, because the Paralympians really, their stories and their commitment, they are at least 10 times bigger than the able-bodied Olympians, if you know what I mean. And also this week will be the Tour de Pologne, which is our national cycling tour, and I will talk about it at length during the weekend, mostly because the start of Saturday stage will be in Wadowice. So for now,